Let's do it.
And we are live. Welcome to the podcast. First episode of the Sola San Diego Podcast. We have Chris and Austin on here. We're going to do a little bit of an introduction, just so you guys know, who's talking on here. I'm Andrew. I'm the marketing and social media manager for Sola San Diego. Super excited to do this podcast with you guys. Thanks for hopping on. We have Haley to my right here, and my co-host.
Hey, I'm Haley. I'm the leasing manager for Sola San Diego and also Andrew's co-host for the podcast. Also very excited to get this started.
I am Austin Campbell, lack of better title terms, the managing partner of Sola San Diego, the franchisee, along with my father Nick and brother Jeremy.
What's going on, guys? My name is Chris Gonzalez. I am the GM of Sola San Diego.
Awesome. So kind of kicking off the podcast, how do you guys know each other? I mean, how did you guys first meet? What was the first introduction?
I'll let Austin start that off.
Yeah, so we just opened Sola probably 6 months after opening Sola Encinitas. And when everyone was first moving in, the parking was open and easy, but it was pretty obvious that it was going to get bad at some point because there's a lot of empty spaces there. And I told everybody when they're moving in that we would do something about it. We'd get valet, we'd figure out some parking, we'd do something once it got bad. And about probably about a year or two after opening. When was that, Chris, we met you?
Like
8 years ago?
Probably about 8 years ago. Sounds about right.
And I think the salon in Encinitas is about 9 years old. So it's probably about a year in when the parking lot got brutal. And a woman named Kim, that was one of the first people to move in there, who we love to death. She's since moved to Florida, but she came into the break room when I was in there chatting with some people and just lit me up, saying, you told us that you would fix this parking if it got bad. And I said, you're right. I did say that. And that's what I love about her. She always shoots you straight, and she was awesome part of Sola for a while. Like I said, we miss her, but she came in and said that, and I said, yeah, we got to do something about it. And so we reached out to the landlord, and they got us in touch with a valet parking company. And Chris had just graduated college, was figuring out, I assume, what the next step with life was, and trying to make a run at it here in San Diego, where he went to college. And then he was assigned to that job as the guy to handle our lot for for the first year or so. We tried to get the landlord to pay for it. They told us to get lost. It's not our problem. we never agreed to that. So we said, screw it. We just got to pay for it and do it ourselves. But that's who they recommended.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Chris.
Yeah, that was a cool experience. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, work for a salon, basically. But that lot was definitely packed. Made some pretty good tips there, and obviously made some good friends, Kim being one of them. And it was definitely a cool experience meeting and actually getting to know all those Sola professionals, some pretty cool people. Obviously got to meet Austin as well. It was still trying to figure out life, like Austin said, and it worked out for me.
Didn't I hear the part where you were valet parking, and then Austin was like, hey, I got something I have to fix in the salon. Are you handy or something like that? Is that how that went?
That's kind of how it started. Yeah, exactly. And at the time, we'd collect quarters out of these, out of the washer and dryer units. Now we have credit cards, and we have a company that kind of maintains them and handles all the payments. But I would have to collect those quarters every month or so, which is a pain in the butt to deal with. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I would go cash in those quarters and just give Chris, cash, saying, hey, could you kind of help manage the salon and do this and do that, take a look at this leak, or go check on it. So and so said that it's too hot or too cold. So it sort of organically and naturally progressed kind of into a management, kind of property management role.
Now you said you turned those quarters into cash, right? You didn't just give him a bag of quarters for his duty.
I think a couple of times I might have given
Okay.
When you're dealing with quarters, it's banks won't take them. You have to put them in rolls, and it's just a freaking nightmare. And those are the early days where Chris and I would have to collect quarters from these machines, and then you could either put them manually into sleeves to deposit in your bank account, or you had to just put them in one of those machines in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Literally putting hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I do
worth of
remember
So
those.
loud.
I wonder if those are still there. The groceries, the like coin stars or whatever.
Coin Star.
Yeah.
They take like 12% though. It's, but you didn't have a lot of options. But
definitely.
Then so Chris took over, kind of managing, just kind of like I said, organically, kind of helping manage that salon. And we had, I think that was our 4th salon to open. I think we had 5 or 6 open at that point, and I was just me running everything. And I was doing the accounting, bookkeeping, property management. Back in the early years, I would paint the studios myself when people moved in, but I needed help, and so Chris was taking over, helping manage that location. And then on the days where it wasn't valet parking, then we asked him if he wanted to work for us on those 2 days a week. I think it was Monday, Friday.
Yeah, I still remember a couple times you asked me after my shift, hey, do you want to go grab a beer? And I'm like, you know what? I want to stay focused. I want to go to the gym, get a workout in, just stay focused. I didn't want to start.
You don't do that anymore.
But I do remember now, I'm like, man, I wish I would have just, took his offer the first time. I could have been working for Sola a long time
ago.
But it's a customer service side, where, we, with the Encinitas crew, anytime they needed like some curtains hung or, they had a problem with, plumbing or anything like that, I just try to be as helpful as possible can, because I knew Austin was running around. He was still doing the mail. Like he said, the quarters, that is not an easy task, especially when you have 4 or 5 locations. Time is money. And so just trying to help out as best I could.
Speaking of that, what number Sola was Encinitas, and then your role prior to meeting Chris?
What was my role? Yeah, it was
you did everything.
I did everything. Yeah, so I was Encinitas was number 4. La Jolla was first. Then we had Mission Valley, then Fashion Valley, then Encinitas, then Carlsbad, then Kearny Mesa, and San Marcos, I believe. And then so those were the first 6. And then my role was everything. I mean,
I love this story.
I was leasing studios. I was the plumber. I was the leasing manager. The marketing manager, Sola, San Diego did not have any social media at that point.
Yeah, right.
So that was
maybe MySpace, right?
That wasn't, not even, I never got on MySpace myself, so I don't even know about that. But
Painter,
I'd paint studios. I would do all the accounting, bookkeeping, which was a nightmare, which is not my favorite thing to do by any stretch. I'd rather plunge a toilet, I think.
Yeah.
Than
you were also the party
work.
host, right? Like you.
Party host. Yeah, in those days, Sola was still really early, and it was all about just hosting happy hours and parties just constantly. So we were always having happy hours and social gatherings for people, which was fun. If I kind of look back on it, if somebody walked into a Sola San Diego in the early days party, and this is still true about a party with the belly up, but you wouldn't think that all these people are kind of work associates or work friends or whatever, that true friends, and people would definitely tie one on. I think that was before Uber, so you catch a cab to get home. But those early days, it was all me, and that's why meeting Chris was such a blessing. So otherwise, I don't know where it would have led us if we hadn't met.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I think you guys had just my first day on the job. I broke ground in Kearny Mesa.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Al Cajon was just finalized, was built, and we signed up Jessica and Levon. That was the first time I got to see all the paperwork and everything done that way. And I already knew I was going to love it based off meeting Jessica and Levon. They're awesome. They're still with us at Al Cajon to this day. But I saw, I can get into this. And I've had such a great relationship with not only Austin, but the Encinitas crew. That seemed already like family, and they were so pumped that I was jumping on board full time. Now they were a little, I still say like sad that they were not going to see me on a daily basis.
Yeah,
at Encinitas. Yeah, that was definitely a transition.
Yeah, exactly.
They got spoiled.
Because I think Chris was obviously Valley Parking doing management, but also a bit of a talk therapist. I think a lot of our folks there, just like a lot of our professionals are therapists to their clients.
Right.
It's the same sort of thing. It became really good friends, a lot of the folks there. And then when Chris really started working with us and spent his time at other salons as well, there was a little bit of transition there, I'd say, for them to kind of share Chris with the rest of the Sola San Diego community.
You mean this guy's not going to park my car and then come and say hi and so I can tell him all the stories anymore?
And hold the
This
door
is
for
BS.
me, and if I'm having a bad day, grab me a Starbucks.
Yeah, right.
And we still try to do that for sure around our salons, but they definitely got full attention that first year or so.
Yeah. So a little bit of more time on my hands so I can make that stuff happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what do you guys like? Do you have any like funny stories for us? I don't know. Like,
yeah, I have some funny
years.
stories from what's that?
I said over the years.
Over the years, especially the early years. I mean, so kind of how Sola San Diego originally came to be is I graduated college in Colorado, moved to LA without a job, just my Jetta packed up full of clothes, and moved out with my girlfriend at the time and stayed with her temporarily. That went poorly, so had to get my own place. And then moved in with a buddy of mine from grade school. Worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I was one of those management trainees that just answer the phone saying, thanks for calling Enterprise Rent-A-Car. This is Austin. I'll pick you up. How can I help you today?
you still got that. You still got that. Yeah.
Never
That's
forget
ingrained
that.
in your brain.
Oh,
You said it
very great.
1,000 times probably.
That's probably Enterprise, I think, wanted it ingrained in your brain.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience. Actually, through that is how I met my wife, so it was great, but I knew I didn't want to do that very long. And I called my uncle, Stratton Smith, who was the founder of Sola, and said, what's up with this salon thing? I think there was about 4 open nationally, one in Wichita, Kansas, 1 or 2 in Colorado where it started, and then I think 1 in Kansas City and 1 in Atlanta. And I said, what's this all about? And I said, yeah, it's this kind of, it's executive suites concept, but for the beauty industry. And I said, well, sounds a lot more interesting than renting cars. so why don't I give it a shot, and then he and my dad and my father, Nick, his brother-in-law, is obviously a Stratton, and he said, well, you need money to open one of these. And at the time, I didn't even think I technically owned my mattress outright.
Yeah. You're like, wait, he's my uncle.
I was still
Why
paying it
can't
off. Yeah, I was still paying
family
off.
discount?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, they helped us get going, but, the building Sola ain't cheap. And so my father, Nick, said, we need some money. And I said, well, I got nothing. Like I said, I'm still paying off my mattress. I do own my car, my Jetta, but that's about it. And so we started, I was living in LA, we started looking around Los Angeles for locations. That was too just big of a market. We looked in Santa Barbara, is kind of too boutique-y of a market. We looked Orange County, didn't find anything, and then a lot of friends down in San Diego. And we found, long story short, through a friend of a friend, there's a broker, found this little space, which became Sola La Jolla. And met the landlord, who still to this day is a friend of mine, bit of a mentor. I actually had lunch with him a couple days ago. And we reached out, and he thought we were crazy trying to open this type of business in there, but he had terrible luck renting it over the years. And, they gave us, not the best deal, but a deal. And so we opened that first salon in 2006, I believe. And I would call my Uncle Stratton. He had a business partner named Matt Brigger, saying, hey, how do I build one of these? Who do I hire to design it? Who do I hire to build it? And it's pretty much say, hey man, you got to figure that out on your own. And we figured it out. Obviously a lot, that we learned, but it's not easy, but it's quite the experience, that's for sure.